What's up, everybody? Isaac, how's it going?
Great, happy holidays, buddy. You're looking sharp.
Oh, thank you. We haven't had a lot of players at practice. I coach basketball, high school basketball. So for the past 3 days, I've had to participate in practice. So I'm very showered, which is
You still
not
got it?
usual. It's not usual for me. I had a nice drive to the hoop today and went to lay it up and uh like
Pulled something?
my old man leg, like I just didn't jump. You know what I mean? I like took the step, knew it was the one I needed to jump, and I just maybe got like 3 inches of air and was like, "Ugh," and just like kind of threw it off the backboard. And uh the player who was guarding me was like, "Oh yeah, too strong for you?" I was like, "No, just my old man leg. I just couldn't jump."
I didn't have
And
my
he,
40-minute warm up.
yeah, totally. Uh, but it's been going good. So I'm freshly showered. You as well, sir, are wearing uh perhaps not your usual garb. Maybe usual
Yep.
for everybody else, but look at that. You have
Christmas sweater. No, I don't usually wear sweaters. I'm drinking a Boot Amber tonight
oh hell yeah.
for the holidays. Fun fact about Anderson Valley: they're famous for having their own dialect, which is pretty interesting.
Whoa.
Not as much anymore, but you know.
Sweet. I have a limited edition Humboldt cider from our local cider company. This one is the cider for the people, 7%.
Nice.
Also, now all of a sudden we've morphed into Push the Point podcast. All of a sudden,
Oh yeah,
talking about our brew dogs and stuff.
yeah. Well, you know, it's the holidays. I figure we could just
Copy
soft
somebody else.
intro.
Oh
No,
yeah,
just soft intro. You know.
totally. Um, Well, we have a few topics we have like prepared, but it looks like right away. Um, Also, thank you for anybody who's here live. We're the Attack Action Podcast. Me and Isaac do this all of the time. Isn't that cool? So, if this is for some reason the first time you're listening to this audio version of this live podcast or something, it's a little different than our usual format. It's going to be a little loosey goosey, free form, a bit more goofatile than we usually are. That's a
And
new
we have
word.
a
It's a college
we
word.
we have a question right out of the gates. You
Yep.
ready? It's pretty
I'm
hard hitting too.
I'm super ready.
All right. So Michael Frazier says, "What up? First time, long time. LOL. Stoked for the live cast. I've been wondering how you guys compile your info when trying to figure out the competitive meta scene and preparing for it outside of reps."
Cool. Also, what's up, Thor Mike? Thanks for the great question, as always. Um, Outside of testing, I mean, really, it's just like back and forth banter, right? And a lot of theory. Like we go, okay, well, this deck obviously performed well, right? So like, and this is super topical because we're just like going over this right now. Like earlier today, we've been talking a lot about this, but we're like, okay, so Michael wins with Oldhim at the Calling Orlando. We obviously know like Breyer has a really good showing, etc. You know, but the issue you run into is that a lot of those data points that we have are like few or from like different countries where maybe there's only 100 flesh and blood players in the entire country or something like that. So not all nationals are, I think, actually equal. So that kind of like makes it the sample size even smaller, right? That you have. So then it's just like a lot of talking back and forth. Like, okay, Ice Lexi beats Briar, still really hard, but loses super hard to Oldhim. So is Oldhim better than Briar and Ice Lexi? How does that play into Bravo or Viserai, and it's just like a lot of back and forth talking and people coming up with good points or counterpoints, just kind of logical conclusions. Is that about right, Isaac? You have more to add to that?
Yeah, a bit. It's especially like yesterday. I like took a picture of my notepad and messaged everybody like, I'm losing my mind, you guys. I can't figure this out. Cause it's just like, yeah, you just go in circles. Like I wrote down all the heroes and who they lose to, right? So Briar obliterates everyone and then loses to like 3 decks, you know. I really like Ice Lexi. I think that's pretty strong into a lot of decks, but then Oldheim is just a nightmare. So then you start thinking like, well, if I'm most likely going to lose to Oldheim and Oldheim is like a good meta call, that I mean, maybe you top 8 with Ice Lexi, but definitely don't win. Is that where it puts you, But then you start going, well, Viserai, you know, obliterates Oldheim and has a good matchup into Briar, right? Um, maybe struggles into Ice Lexi, maybe not so much. I'm not sure. And then you just go like on and on because there are, 5, maybe 6 top tier decks at the moment in this convoluted rock paper scissors. So it's been pretty tough. And then we're going to have New Zealand and Australian Nats, which will
Yeah.
heavily influence us. And then we're going to have Everfest, which will make obsolete some of our, strategies or data points or whatever. But I think in the past, when you're just targeting Chain or you're just targeting Briar, it's like a lot easier, right? Like honestly, nothing really efficiently beats Chain except Chain, but that's what you kind of have to target, right? Like
No, you mean like in the Monarch meta, or you mean the current meta?
no Monarch meta.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So but then it's easier, right? Like you have to have a good game into Chain and then also aggro Katsu, maybe Prism, maybe Bravo, because those are the things trying to combat Chain or just more chains, right? And that kind of simplifies it. But right now, like Taylor pointed out, we don't have the Nat season was just this condensed time period with not a lot of time to, for players to adapt. So we don't have a lot of data on what the meta is going to look like after a lot of time. And I think the Everfest wrench thrown in there at the very end, right before the Pro Quest, is pretty funny and awesome. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, it's super wild. So, yeah, the oh, crap sticks. What was I going to say? I forget now.
The current state of the meta, according to Coach Taylor. No.
uh,
Oh.
no, that's pretty good. Yeah, I forget, Oh, yeah, so it's like now the focus isn't so much like finding the best deck, it's like finding the best couple of decks and like getting pretty good with them so that when Everfest comes out, um, oh, that is what I remembered I was going to say. But when Everfest comes out, that you can like pretty quickly like add in the best cards to whatever your deck's doing and see if anything's like strategy drastically changes and stuff. Because in those first couple of weeks, like all those pro quests, I don't think I mean, the meta will change a little bit, but it's not going to be like, I would be really surprised um, if there was like a rogue deck that just went bananas on everybody, you know? My other point to what Isaac said about in contrast to like the Monarch meta, which is going to be great when we have like more metas. Also, we can turn this into a drinking game every time we say meta or Ice Lexi or something. Um, Here's looking at you, Mike Popovich. I know you got a handle of something going on. The difference between that meta and this one is when looking back on it, like Isaac said, like we knew we had to beat Chain, but like in those early days, it was like who knew what was going to happen, and that's what it kind of feels like right now. Like what really is like the best deck and what is like rock paper scissorsy or stuff. And this is kind of how I think maybe a more developed meta will like look like in the game, hopefully in the future, is like there's a front runner who's really strong, and then decks start to target it, and then decks start to target the targets, and so now you just have to have like kind of uh a deck that's a little bit more well-rounded and kind of have to make a meta call, right? Like, okay, what do I think is really going to be represented? Like, I've been starting to think about when we head down to the bay for some of these pro quests. Like, some people are pretty into like Guardian and that sort of thing. So maybe is Oldheim going to show up way more, or is everybody going to be on like Briar? You know, I don't know. So
Two things. It always
nice.
feels like with the release of a new set, everybody's just like, this is intense. Let's fall back to Bravo. Bravo's really good. Because I
Yeah,
feel like Monarch
totally.
came out and there was like Bravo is really strong in the beginning. Then Seeds got banned and Tails came out, and then everybody kind of like falls back. Bravo's just really good, So
Yeah,
until it like
yeah,
really develops, maybe Everfest comes out and Bravo gets new tools, and then everybody kind of like falls back onto that. Yeah, and the tough thing about the current meta, and like the good thing also, is that a lot of our considerations have like a pretty hard loss, right? Like Ice Lexi loses to Oldheim, Oldheim loses to Viscerai, Briar loses to Ice Lexi, and it just like goes around like
right.
that.
In a hypothetical situation here
Yeah,
too.
not
Yeah,
certainly not every game,
yeah, yeah,
by any
mm,
means, but
yeah,
just in general, as far as matches stack up. Um,
totally.
Next question.
Uh, okay, that was a
Or
great
you got
question.
anything else about that?
Really got us going. No, I don't know. I'm just pretty excited for ProQuests and getting to schedule those into my schedule, and then so we know where they're going to happen. You know, watch out, Oregon. We could be making the trip up there. Speaking of going to Oregon, I was planning on going to Seattle for Christmas, and the weather is bananas right now, or it's supposed to get bananas.
Oh yeah, 5 might be snowed over, huh?
Yeah, totally. Snow level goes down to like 1,000 feet
Hot
or
weather tips,
lower.
everyone.
Yeah, if you're
I think
driving on I-5 in Northern California and Oregon and Seattle, it could be crazy. And then there's like gale force winds from the coast also, so in like extreme rain. So it's like can't even drive up the coast maybe. I mean you could,
geez,
but it could be dicey. Anyway, that's what I've been also dealing with today.
I think I'm going
Keep
snowboarding, so that's pretty exciting actually.
sweet.
Um,
Okay, hit me with that next question, baby.
Mike Popovich, have you guys
Oh,
ever
nice.
drafted Welcome to Wraith? Any tips? So this is a bit pertinent because the farewell armories are coming up.
Yeah. I think he has also a second comment in there. Mike Popovich does. Can we just read? Can we get to that real quick here?
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah,
Drinking a custom blend of Wild Turkey 101, Ardbeg Scotch, and a local barrel strength rye.
all at once. That's a lot. Good job.
It's it's a blend.
Yeah, I know.
You put
Well, I
all your
just
favorite things in a cup and
yeah,
drink
you
it.
have three different bottles and you just equal parts.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, what was the question? Oh, drafting Welcome to Wraith. We have a few times, but it has been a long time.
Yep.
I would say noting how many razor reflexes you see in the draft would be notable. Um, and like remembering those sorts of things that like, right, defense reactions are super good, you know, like, what is it? Sink below and
Yep.
unmovables in that set, I think.
And Flick Flax, but that's class specific.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So like that and all of the reactions, add for like a way spicier decision tree while defending.
um, So yeah, I haven't drafted this set very much, but it's just rifting. It's a little bit more straightforward, right? Like Taylor said, if you get a red razor or a red sink below, or just strong generics early, um, go ahead and grab them, right? And then just paying attention to what you're getting wheeled, right? Like if you're getting wheeled like red leg taps, right, or like strong warrior attack reactions or something, then after you pick those first few strong generics, if you keep getting past those strong class cards, um, you'll kind of figure out what your seat is, I think. And I think there's a bit of a kind of knowing how the characters play in draft, which I know is impossible to know before playing. But like for example, one thing that really surprised me was Dorinthia is like, if you don't get enough go again for your weapon, Dorinthia is like really bad. Um, but if you do have like a lot of driving blades or whatever, then she becomes very good. So, I would say identifying the strengths of each of the characters in draft. Bravo turning on a Nothos, things like that. Uh, will help you. You could just sit down and go through the card gallery and kind of look
Yeah,
for
and
what you're
like
looking
Bravo's
for.
ability says cards that cost a certain amount, I think,
Three
right?
or more.
They don't have to be
Yeah.
guardian cards. So that's like important to remember while drafting, since he very rarely runs non-guardian cards and that sort of thing. Yeah, those are my tips. I hope you have
All
fun,
right.
Mike. Also, shout out to we got some Portland folks in the house. Shout out to you, Kevin. Shout out to Dante, friend of the pod. Dante, we gotta have you on the pod, bro. And then shout out to Patrick, Mr. Jones. He's a local up and comer, probably winning armories since me and you haven't been there.
Nice little live shit talking. Um,
Yeah, totally.
all
All
right.
right, you're the
Next
question man,
question.
apparently. Also,
Um,
wait, before you get to that next one, big ups to Colin, our producer. He's behind the scenes aggregating, running the stream, aggregating all of the questions and stuff. So much love to Colin. He's doing a really great job right now. He's probably very sweaty because he lives in LA because it's hot in LA. That's why. You people. Okay.
Great shout out. All right. Next question is from Hell Puppy, new patron of ours. What's that?
Oh yeah.
Um,
Shakas, bra.
do you think the meta would change a bunch if they just let it sit right now? He also has a follow up question. What are Isaac's thoughts on Shiver? But let's talk about the meta. How much do you think the meta would shift if they let it sit for, I
I
don't know,
think it
say
would
3 months?
I think there's still a lot to be discovered, you know, and a lot of counters to happen and that sort of thing. Like, if it seems like the consensus is that people are kind of not sure what the actual best deck is, right? Like we've talked about, like there's a number of things that could be pretty good. Um, and I think we would see that kind of sift out a little bit, you know? Like I don't know how much more legs Lexi has. It's that might be like a if you know the meta you're going into a bit more, might be a really good call or something. This is hypothetical. I'm not really sure. But stuff like that I think would be um what happens more. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to disagree a bit. I don't think the meta would change a lot. Um, I do think that this is all
Oh,
hypothetical. I could be
you mean
totally
like
wrong.
in terms of like so let's say there's five tier 1 decks or whatever. Um you think that we would just stay with those same five, like Dash or Dorinthia is not making like a resurgence or anything like that? Is that what you mean?
Nope. Yeah,
Yeah.
nope, no
I
way.
I also agree
Um,
with that, that would not happen.
I think that so to me, I think that Briar is kind of by far the strongest deck. Um, because even when it's particularly targeted, it still has a pretty good matchup into it. And I think that given a little time to sit, if Briar players could get better at pitch stacking or sideboarding or setting up big combo plays to efficiently beat Oldheim, then I think that that would be the deck to play. It's already a bit more resilient against Ice Lexi. You could tech in Sigil of Sufferings or whatever the call is against Bravo, um, aggro Bravo. So I think we'd see a few adaptations, but I think that Briar would kind of reign after solving, you know, those issues it has or those counters it has. That's just what I would anticipate. But we're getting Everfest coming out, so you know, none of that much matters unless you're in New Zealand or Australia.
Yeah, totally. I get pretty uh I don't know, revved up when you say Briar's by far the best deck, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. I think it would change and it would be like an arms race, like it would come out with a new permutation, so then the other decks would change to counter it also, like then you just go even more of like a gigantic Sonata, you know, Viserai situation. Like, the deck would need way more blues, and then run Arcane Barrier, to even kind of have a chance anyway against like a big Runechant Sonata situation. And then its power level is like lowered significantly by having less red line cards. So,
Sure.
um,
Um, just to
but
clarify,
like you said, it doesn't matter much.
yeah, just to clarify, I don't think Briar has a over 50% win rate into every deck. When I say it's by far the best, that's not what I mean. Just when you look at every one of the top decks' weaknesses or poor matchups, I think that Briar has a less, I don't know, it has a better chance into its poor matchups,
Yeah,
right?
it's just like easier to play.
I think it has a better game into like Oldheim or Ice Lexi than other decks have into their, bad matchups. So that's why I
Okay.
think it's the best
Yeah,
deck, you know.
I gotcha. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
not that it's just over 50, it's not like Chain out there or anything, but
Right. Yeah.
anyway, so that's what I
Monarch,
meant.
Monarch Chain,
Yeah. Yeah.
because Chain's still out there, bro.
Chain is very prominently out there.
Totally. It's because he's not wearing a shirt. I don't know.
Um, what are my thoughts on Shiver? So I did briefly consider Shiver as a sideboard option to counter aggro because you can pump dominate an arrow and then dump into shock charmers to really really hammer down. But pretty much every uh, meta deck out there except Lexi has quite a bit of armor, and the flexibility afforded by Voltaire being able to go pretty wide and have like 3 or 4 different hit effects across 3 attacks, I think makes up for the kind of linear game plan Shiver has. I mean, I know there's probably a world where you know have a ton of pumps. I don't know. Shiver's just a bit too linear of a game plan for me, and especially in this kind of wide open meta, the flexibility of Voltaire I think is better, even in an ice deck.
But I understand the kind of want for Shiver, the like underdog of the underdogs, to like have a place for sure, you know?
Totally, and guarantee your hit effect, and then shock charmers at a bunch.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
totally. Yeah. Coming for 4, dominate.
I also like to mix and match my hit effects with Lexi. So because the arrows apply to each attack down the chain, you can often have like a chilling effect and frostbite effects applied. Whereas if you're only playing one arrow with shiver, then even if you shock charmers, you're still only pumping chilling ice veins effect to like, you know, pay 3 or discard 3 cards total. So pitching a blue, helps that.
Yeah.
Or, Blizzard Bullet's like 3 frostbites, but I think the mix and match is definitely much more effective at stripping cards.
Great.
That's what I got.
Yeah. I think earlier this morning when Colin beat the pants off of me with Lexi, he should have beat the pants off of me even more. I feel like we missed some chilling ice vein
Oh,
triggers.
yeah, those arrows. Well, if you get a handful of arrows, they don't do anything, which is really terrible. But the fact that they apply to all attacks down the chain is pretty nuts.
Really, I feel like there was a turn where I was just like tilted off the world where he like chilling ice veined me into remorseless or whatever, and it's just I think maybe yeah, I don't know what happened. And we probably like missed the like chilling ice vein trigger off of remorseless or whatever.
Yeah.
Just pretty annoying deck. Anyway. Next question.
Um, Patrick asks, referring to earlier when you mentioned our deck building episode was our most listened to episode. He was asking is since we've both gotten better at the game since recording that, has our deck building philosophy changed since then?
I would have to re-listen to that episode. um I don't know. I don't know like what I've learned. It's more like uh the the biggest changes have been knowing what decks you're going to face and what cards to sideboard in, right? Like I think that's like the next permutation probably off of what I can remember from that episode. Um so like beyond like all of the testing and the like rigorous note taking and making sure in the math of ratios and that sort of thing is then like figuring out again what like cards you need to make your matchups more winnable.
From what I remember, I think it's stayed pretty similar, right? Like Taylor is very good at building a deck with a game plan and getting reps with it to improve his efficiency and making small tweaks and then collecting data on that and you know kind of building the best engine and the best getting the reps to pilot it the best you can. um, I think part of my I kind of like to in testing, and I don't really know if this is good or bad, but I like to kind of explore new lines a bit, right? So like, well, if I take this more aggressive approach in the face of this problem, like how does that pan out for me later?
It's a
And
very
then I lose.
poetic way of saying 16 damage, I'll take it. Let's see what happens.
so then if I lose, I'm like, oh, that didn't work out. But like part of my process, I think, is like trying to explore more lines and add more to the quiver. Because every once in a while you'll find a new trick or a new line that you did not previously consider. um, so I don't know.
Yeah, you're very much a throw a bunch of stuff on the wall and see what sticks type of person.
Yeah, every once in a while something does.
Totally. That's a cooked noodle. We're
All
ready.
right. So we kind of already talked about Dante's question. Thoughts on the current meta, more or less solved? Or do you think that there's still room to innovate and potentially find the next Briar killer before Everfest hits? Is there anything you want to
Yeah,
add to that?
I just don't know if they're I mean maybe yeah, I don't know what the next Briar killer is. I would say some decks probably have to fall out of favor for some others to potentially do really well, you know? I do know that like it's starting to very feel like it's moving a bit more mid-range overall, you know? Like the game is starting to actually slow down a little bit. And if that happens, then maybe like Reinar comes back in and just wrecks house, you know? But yeah, I don't know if it's like yeah, some stuff would have to drastically change. I think just with what the current quote unquote best decks are right now, that the innovation will come from those and how they're played rather than a whole new situation coming up.
Yeah, I
Hopefully that
don't
makes sense.
I don't think they're like Dorinthia is going to come kill Briar or anything, but I do
As
think
much
there's
as
a
some of us would like that to happen.
I do think there's a bit of room for innovation. Like I don't play Bravo, so I don't understand what kind of consistency issues he faces, but is it just seems like aggro Bravo also has a place, right? Because you have quite a lot of armor, you block very well, and then
Good
so
weapon.
yeah, and some of your really debilitating crush effects are not really too expensive, like spinal or disable or crippling crush. You could definitely squeeze in there. So I don't know though. I don't know much about Bravo. Next question. Also,
Okay.
what's up? What's up, Dante? Did you want to add something to that, Taylor?
No, I just wanted to say everybody's doing a great job in the chat and that sort of thing. Thanks for all the questions.
Yeah, definitely. Um, from Hell Puppy again. Do you guys think copy and paste decks are bad for the meta?
You mean net deck? What? I don't know. You
Yeah.
clarify on what copy and paste decks are. Like,
Well, it's not my question, but
I
I
know
see
that's
I see a lot of
that
people
question
just
also wasn't for you.
I see a lot of people just copying the best decks instead of trying to make ones to counter the top decks.
Oh, is that's the rest of it?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Uh, I mean, it's in an inevitable part of every game, right? Is that Joe Schmo works 9 to 5. He's got 4 kids, but loves flesh and blood. Doesn't have time to like deck build and do something. So he's got the time off work to go to the calling. So he's just gonna net deck the one he likes and play that and just freaking go for it, you know? Um, I do think that there needs to be more innovation in the community. Um, but that is kind of a product of actually how small it still is. Like, I think, you know, Isaac and I would have been much more motivated to find maybe some decks or strategies sooner if we had really planned on going to more callings or nationals instead of like last minute. So that's like partially on us also as leaders within the community. But
Well,
Isaac did do a great job pushing the meta forward for sure with Ice Lexi. But I mean, I think my big thing, the takeaway, the thesis, the wrap up, the summary is that it's the community's just small and the game's new. So as it grows and is old, more people will be able to innovate and that sort of thing.
yeah, I agree 100%. Um,
Nice.
it just like takes quite a long time just to even like for me it takes me quite a long time to like lay out my cards and theorize, and then it takes more time to test and develop your theory. And it's also just like especially in the situation where Briar comes out, Lightning Briar, and there's just very limited time before US Nationals or like many of the Nationals. It's kind of a big risk to take a deck that you think counters it and the rest of the meta versus just taking Lightning Briar, right? Like you have a better chance of winning the event, especially if you have limited testing time if you take Lightning Briar, right? Because I did pretty well, but for there's also like plenty of Oldheim, well, not plenty, but some Oldheims and Ice Lexis and Viserais, etc., that did not, right? So, um, I guess I'm saying it's just like a bit of a bigger risk. So if you're trying to, really win an event, then net decking and then doing your own testing off of that and learning how to pilot it, I think is just, just the best
Yeah.
call for some people if you're trying to be as competitive as possible. Uh, that said, I think in this game, especially piloting and sideboarding plays a pretty big role, like knowing how to play the matchup that you're going to play. So I think that hampers just straight up net decking to some degree. And I kind of like that about this game, that it, maybe rewards uh, deck brewing, or at least like taking a deck and making it your own.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you still can't just be like, it's not a game where the deck pilots itself, you know? Even as much as like Briar or Cheerios Briar is like on the spectrum of decks that are have a difficult time to play. It is perhaps slightly easier. It's still like you still need to be practiced and be a good player, you know, to be able to like win at the highest levels. Could you just spike your freaking armory with Tarek's Cheerios Briar list? Maybe. I don't know who's at your armory, you know? So, yeah. And really the only way to get better at deck building and innovation and that sort of thing is to do it. You have to do it, you know? Because if you dip your toes in the water and you're like, all right, I got this idea, and then you're like, I just like lost, that didn't work, I suck at this, right? Like you're never gonna give yourself a chance to like get better at that, and it takes a lot of practice. Like Isaac is like a really good deck builder for sure, but he does it a lot, and that's why he's good. It's not just because he's just like, I don't know, has like the correct genes for it. He just practices it.
Yeah. Thanks. It also interests me. But you're also a good deck builder, you know?
Thank you.
You solve the control issue for chain all by yourself,
All by myself.
just through hard
Yeah.
work and smart thinking. Um, anyway,
Not to
dang.
say that like I think Arsenal Pass and that sort of stuff were proponents of how to do it as well, I think, but I'm not trying to say that I was the originator of pitch stacking and
Oh yeah, sorry.
in Riftbind for 57 with Go
Ma-
again.
Making claims for you. Um,
Anyway,
dang, now I don't know what I was going to say.
I don't know. Next
Oh,
question.
yeah. So
Oh,
just last thing on that. Like you said, you might like build a deck and just like get annihilated in your first game. But there's like two factors there, right? Like your deck might be really bad into that matchup, or bad in general. You might have like sideboarded incorrectly, or you might have piloted it incorrectly, right?
yeah.
So I think you need to kind of have a feel for all three of those, and sometimes you can move in and out of, all three, uh, rather than just changing one card and having to try it a bunch more. But um, that's important to recognize, right? Like I just got the living shit kicked out of me. I think I played it pretty poorly. What else can this deck or this core group of cards that I put together do? So if I sideboard differently, can it get me there? And then you can try it again, maybe. I think it's pretty important, because it's pretty
Recently,
demoralizing to spend a lot of time theorizing, being like nice, and then just get annihilated.
yeah, I literally just went through that very recently and was like, that sideboard idea was bad. Let's try this one. Dang, also bad. Okay, I think the deck fundamentally has to change. So, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Bold prediction time from Popovich. What deck wins Australia and New Zealand? Also, imagine if Chain had a mustache.
That's what Colin said when we were on our like chain is really out there type of deal. Yeah.
Oh. Nice way to slip that
um,
in there, Colin.
yeah. Um, I mean, I guess so. It also could be Popovich's question. That would be pretty hilarious as well. Sidebar. He would be cooler than he already is if he had a mustache. That's the answer to that. What wins New Zealand Nationals? I'm gonna go. I want Viserai to win. So that's who I'm picking. It's
Nice.
my favorite hero. So
I like
and
that
then
pick.
Australia, I'm gonna say Oldhim wins Australia.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
similar. I'm going to pick Breyer and Oldham, win one of each. Um, my
Wow.
pick would 100% be Viserai, but it's that deck's quite a bit harder to pilot. I mean, not taking anything away from the good Oldhim or Breyer players, but Viserai is a pretty fluid deck, which makes it very strong and pretty adaptive. You can have a few different strategies. Um, but just the more nuance or decision points your deck has, the more chance you have to make mistakes. So naturally, the harder to pilot a deck is, the harder it is to win one of these big events with it, with so many games to play. Unfortunately, but without that being a factor, I would say, Viserai might be you know, the pick.
Nice. Totally
So
cool.
I hope it also is Viserai. I mean, Rosetta 1 for 5 is bananas.
Right, because of an extra rune chant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very
totally.
strong.
Just making sure you're keeping your chops because Rosetta is 2 and 2, and
Yep.
so if people are gonna get mad at you in chat,
No, but I'm
so you.
actually correct. So,
Well played, sir. Well played.
all right. Next question. What's your guys' opinion on traps? Think they should be phased out or made more playable?
Traps are very cool, and I actually forgot they existed until this moment. Do we get
Yeah.
more traps in Everfest?
No, we don't need more traps.
Oh, okay. Why
unless
not?
they're unless they're made more playable. So I thought about this. There's this scenario, right, where you with Lexi or Azalea, I guess, in New Horizon, you can have a trap sitting in Arsenal face up and then play around it and then just block with it when the time comes. Whereas Azalea's issue has always been if you run too many traps and then you put a trap into Arsenal and they don't attack you efficiently or whatever, you just like have to get it out of the way. But I also think traps are very cool in a really cool design space and mechanic that LSS has introduced and then kind of like abandoned and never like fleshed out, which that can be part of our drinking game, fleshed out pun. Um, it was like pretty disappointing because it was a bunch of rare slots in Crucible and they're just like pretty bad. I mean, I've found uses for Pitfall Trap to close out a game, like you can pitch it, then close out a game with it, or Tripwire Trap, but the downside is just like too great. And it would be really nice if they introduced like a piece of equipment or some sort of mechanic or other cards that, behooved you to have traps in your deck. That would be awesome because they're very roguelike.
Yeah, that would be cool if you had a legit weaponless hero. Like they just don't have a token weapon or something, you know? I don't know. Like they have a lair. I don't, you know.
A ghillie suit and a bunch of
Yeah.
traps.
Yeah, totally. And that's how you win the game. I don't know. I don't know. Don't
Um,
let's not go down that hole where it's gonna get too weird.
all right. Chris asked us, have you incorporated shock charmers into your Lexi deck? Yes, I have. The upside is
Was
pretty
Chris
great.
is Chris the guy who was like on your deck tech? Like You should use shock charmers. They're very good.
No, Chris, our patron Chris.
Oh, okay.
What's up,
My
Chris?
bad.
um,
That was just a funny comment from months ago or
yeah.
whatever.
I did not
Uh,
actually own shock charmers when I went to Nat, so did not use it. Yeah, the upside of like firing an arrow for 7 go again and then threatening to dump into shock charmers if they don't block or just go wide if they do block is pretty insane. There's also situations where you will um, you know, have a hand and draw off a 3 of a kind and you might have more resources than arrows and you have somewhere to put them. Also, well, you have a resource sink in Voltaire, but having a resource sink is also kind of handy sometimes for just cycling cards. I have reincorporated bracers back into my deck. The Kano matchup's very strongly favored for me, but I still like having Nolrin 3. And
oh, okay. Makes sense.
I may use it for Viscerai because it has. I like having grapplers for the CNC counter, so um, having the bracers would give me a null rune just for. I don't really want to block, but in the early game, I might want to a bit. Uh, don't don't know about the Viscerai matchup, but also it could have applicability. Like I've been looking at it for the Oldheim matchup, right? Because they rarely let you hit and be able to dump into shock charmers. So the flexibility of going even wider on a particularly huge turn, I think, would afford you more damage.
Mm.
So braces is back in, but yeah,
They're back, baby.
shock charmers is really good, like really good.
Yeah, the
Sometimes you can lightning press and then shock charmers, so it's like you surprise them, it's guaranteed to hit, and then you shock charmers a
Chris.
bunch. And in certain matchups, like against more fatigue style decks, the ability to pay for damage while not losing cards also has like some degree of value, even though it's a bit expensive. Sorry,
Yeah.
what were you gonna
I
say?
would no. Well, we just did a recent like popper format and I played chain and I realized how much I missed grasp just for the simple fact for getting to like use some extra resources for an extra damage, you know?
Yeah,
Um that's like pretty huge. Like turn 1, you can like make a rune chant, make a shackle and arsenal and pass is like
yeah,
pretty freaking great.
yeah. Cycle
When
your cards.
yeah, when that's all gone, when that's taken away from you, you don't realize how good it actually is.
Yep.
So,
All right.
all right.
Next question. Top ranger cards you wanted to see in Everfest. Pumps, ice on hit effects, or traps. Any idea on what on hit effects might be be new and interesting? So
Gosh,
I
you're
can
so
just flip
popular.
back.
All of
But
these ranger questions.
this is the last one for a minute. You got one coming up. Um, I don't know. Ice Ice Lexi feels a bit linear. There's only like 2 arrows that are any good, just in my opinion. I do run a couple flake outs because they proc off the other ones, but um, so another ice arrow with some type of hit effect would be nice. Um, Lightning's a little bit more flexible because you can run stuff like Heaven's Claws and you can apply your lightning effect to, exude or snatch, for example. So it feels like it has a little bit more flexibility. I haven't really thought about new hit effects I would like. I'm more interested in some sort of equipment or mechanic that uh, you know, maybe I mean it would be sweet if Azalea could use Voltaire, but some sort of mechanic that would just expand, Azalea or the Ranger class. Sorry, that was a pretty poor answer. I haven't been brewing ideas for many new hit effects.
Yeah, I like really want to speculate, but I have no idea. Speculation is way easier when we have like a few more cards to go off of. So, Yeah, I don't know. It's not really fundamentally like that. I think Ranger needs hit effects. It's just like different ways to apply them and use them, if that makes sense, right? That's what uh not a Ranger enthusiast, a Ranger hobbyist. Yeah, there you go.
Let's see. Next question.
I
What
guess you
is
couldn't.
the? I don't
Can
know
you not
what
hear
T.
me? Or you just had nothing
Oh
to
no,
say?
you like lagged out a bit, so I
Oh,
was
okay.
just
It's just like
smoothly moving on.
whatever he had to say. I don't, yeah.
Did you have a prompt for me?
No, had I just said some really cool stuff that you just didn't hear.
Oh,
So it's whatever. It's happened. It's in the past.
missed out. I'll have to go back and listen.
Sorry, I ruined you being professional. Great job.
Why aren't you responding to me?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what TLDR means, but what is the TLDR for why Viserai has good matchups versus top decks right now?
Uh Wait, say that again?
What is the TLDR for why Viserai has good matchups versus top decks right now?
Oh, right. Yeah, too long didn't read. That's what that means.
No.
Yeah. Um just cuz the deck is like just really really flexible in its game plan. And it seems like, well, and it doesn't seem like the inclusion of like Sonata and Creepers, and then that kind of combo with the Scalita just makes for like a turn that's like really hard for your opponent to stop. There's like no arcane barrier 6. So if you can get off a big Sonata turn, you just deal 5 damage right there, and then have a bunch of rune chance and cards still. So that's just like uh a good play against a lot of decks that they can't stop, if that makes sense. And the fact that just the split damage now, uh it has always been hard to deal with, but now the consistency in which you can have multiple attacks on the same combat chain, uh that deal split damage is just really hard to deal with. You come in with like a Mauve Skies and a meet and greet for 4 physical and like 2 rune chance. You definitely want to stop that meet and greet, right? Or else you're gonna get like 3 more rune chance on the next attack. So you got to take 2 to save for the next attack, from those rune chants and that sort of thing. Hopefully that makes a little sense. And then you're coming in with like your weapon and whatever rune chants you made and that sort of thing. So that's just like hard to deal with, even for Oldheim, who has like a bunch of different ways to block cards and stuff. It's still hard to block rune chants efficiently while paying for like crown and the shield and his defense reaction, that sort of thing. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I would just add that. Yeah, like you were saying, the ability to build a big combo strategy, to address issues like facing old time or like deep control, and being able with the same core deck flex to that really good mid-range game, right, where you're talking about like Mauve Skies into any 4 attack into Rosetta is like you know uh 10 to 13 damage, and it
And
can
as like
be,
a single blue card pays
yeah,
for it
and it
easy.
can be like any attack. And then you run that along with quite a lot of armor, and then say your 4th card's a defense reaction in there. It just makes for really good efficiency in the mid-range game as well as the like combo game. you know um
Yeah. Yeah. It just, yeah, like Isaac said, a lot of a miniature fridge, and just the inclusion of creepers too to like output that extra bit of damage is really good. To get an extra action point and that sort of thing is just huge, you know. Yeah.
All right, Taylor, which is your favorite? Which hero is your favorite, and what buffs would you want to see come to that hero?
Who asked that one? Somebody we haven't heard
Hell
of
puppy.
before. Oh, nice. Hell Puppy's crushing it right now. Also funny to say on air. Hell Puppy. We love dogs. Sorry, say that again. I got distracted.
Here it scrolled.
Oh yeah, no problem. Just drinking craft
Taylor,
cider. Yeah.
which
Yes,
hero is
Taylor.
your favorite, and what buffs would you want to see come to that hero?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Viserai is for sure my favorite. I don't really know what the deck super needs. Uh, there are some cards like you don't utilize too much that I think are really cool. Like Blood Barrier, I wish was easier to play. In like Bloodspill Invocation is also very cool, but impossible to play as well. And like I think maybe there's a world where Sutcliffe's Notes is pretty cool. Now I'm just listing old cards, but okay, this is the real thing I want for Viserai is there to be for some reason I want a reason to run the Dread Scythe. That's all I want. I just want to Dread Scythe people to death. You heard it here. Dread Scything.
Nice.
That's what we want. I don't know what that would need, you know, because it would need like a separate strategy from building rune chants to go over the top, which is, I don't know how you do that, right? You maybe need to have an aura out every time your weapon deals damage. It makes a rune chant. I don't know. And it costs like 6. I don't know. But because like the if you just block with all of your cards and don't set up like a rune chant combo, then the deck is like pretty underpowered. You know, even when you do set up rune chants, if you do 6 chants and play red amplify the Arc Knight, which just comes in for 6, that's just a straight 12, and it's easily blockable by like most mid-range decks. Just like boom, 2 blues, 2 cards from hand. I spent all this time dirtling around to make these 6 rune chants and play this card, and now nothing has happened. Great. I stripped 4 cards. Cool. But now I don't have any rune chants, and they blocked all my damage. So now I got to start that whole process over. You know, classic Arcane Rising meta shit. Oh, nice. I hear Tommy
Um,
Fresh is in the chat. Tommy Fresh. He's the best. He's our bud. Anyway, go
uh,
ahead, Isaac.
who is the reigning people's champ? Colin. Next question.
Yeah, totally. In our hearts and in our souls and in our minds and in our pants.
Style it back a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I
Sorry.
know it's the holidays.
Woo.
Just kidding. Yeah, we'll give Tommy Fresh from Fresh and Buds his question since he just hopped in here. What would a podcaster's hero ability be? Great question.
That is a great question. Nice. It's got to be late over there on the East Coast. Um, podcaster's hero ability be. What are we really good at? Talking? You know? Like below average on editing the podcast, average at scheduling the podcast. I mean, I don't even think we're really that great at talking. We're just pretty good at being friends.
Agreed.
So that's what it would be. It would be a dual-sided card, and it would be host or co-host, and then co-host on the other side. that's what it would be. And so they would both have 20 health and have two separate kind of okay abilities, but you could flip back and forth between them once per turn.
Nice. I like the co-host flipping.
Nice.
Cool
Tommy
mechanic.
says hits once a week. That's pretty good too. Or
Nice.
for us, twice a month.
I was thinking
Uh,
something about like rifting or using all of your resources. You know, you get a bonus if you play out all four cards in your hand, right? Or you put two back in the deck and then draw three random cards, and you have to play them all out. Otherwise, you take some popularity damage or something.
nice.
That's a great
All right.
question. I'm going to need
Yeah.
more time for that one.
Yeah. Totally. Excellent.
Um. All right. Where are we going next? What are
We're
your?
also just sidebar. We're slightly over an hour. I don't know how long you want a podcast for, but whatever.
Oh, it's up to you.
Cool. We usually go for like 2 hours, but yeah, maybe we'll end sometime soonish, I guess.
Yep, sounds good.
Cool.
Um, what are your holiday beverages of choice?
Eggnog next.
Um, maybe
Water. Water's a
uh
classic though.
maybe like hot toddies. It's pretty
Oh, do
good.
we mean alcoholic beverages?
No,
Oh, okay.
I
I'm going eggnog.
just went there first. Oh,
Nice.
I just assumed you meant eggnog with booze in it, but I guess that's because
Oh
you
no,
like
I just meant
drinking at
eggnog.
the holidays.
Yeah, it's great. I love eggnog. I went to the store today and was like, I should get some more eggnog. And I was like, no, I've already had enough. I should wait until next store's trip to get some more eggnog.
Nice, eggnogged out.
Totally. Well, no, I'm just trying to pace myself.
Uh, all right. Next question. If you guys were to get to put a new hero into the game, what would it be? And what would be the name?
Jesus. I have no idea. I really do like we've talked about this a lot, but we just really want a necromancer or some type of like summoner where you're the the quiver of cards you can play out or like ally tokens are all different. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Besides Pano, obviously, the number
Oh
one
yeah.
choice.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
If anybody gets that reference, let us know in the comments.
it's from the old school.
Yeah, and you get +1 to your friendship with us. Maybe +2.
I think some sort of druid would be very cool, and I don't know if that entails summoning, like having ally friends, or you could, you know, transform into different forms, right? Like if you transform into a bear, you're very strong, or if you transform into an eagle, you get, I don't know, opting abilities and I don't know, defense or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But some sort of character where you can flex into a different role and then capitalize on that role. I think would be pretty cool. Some sort of transformation.
that is cool. Love it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Um, I think I'm getting a call from LSS actually. It's been nice working with you, Taylor. I'm gonna go develop
Nice.
my
That's so
druid
funny.
in New
I got a
Zealand.
real phone call right when you said that, but not from LSS. I was like, "Oh my god, they're calling me too."
Oh my god.
It must be 1,000,000 o'clock over there.
Or, 7 in the morning. I'm not sure. Um, thoughts on future sets being named after different kingdoms, etc.
Oh,
I'll
like
rift
so we
off
have Tales of Aria, so then like
like
stories from Solana.
Savage Land set, etc.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um yeah, I mean, sounds cool.
Nice.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
I do like that naming convention better than like monarch being like who's the monarch in Monarch? What is that a reference to? You know? I felt like there was some sort of storyline that was about to emerge out of that, like Crucible, and then we had Monarch, and then nothing happened, and now we just have Tales of Aria. Like, come on, what's the overarching story here? I guess if they have like it would be too hard to then uh, develop the game freely around. You know, you're already constrained a little bit.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the monarch was, I mean, it was like the dark coming for the kingdom of Solana, which is kind of the ruling castle or city of the lands. So I assume that the monarch lives there. But yeah, it felt like woefully undeveloped, right? Like the whole stage was set with that flavor. And then it was like, yeah, we don't know who the monarch is or how that panned out. But,
Yeah, totally. Chain got banned. You know, that's what happened. They threw him in
how,
the jail.
well, Prism shut him down.
That's true. The hero of Solana.
How many friendship points is Johnny Blue Razor?
Oh, one and a half, like half a point. Good question though. I
He
don't
gets
know. If,
1,000. He's also my brother-in-law, so
oh,
you know.
is oh, is that what Mitch said?
No, Mike
Oh,
Popovich asked that.
oh, okay. Yeah, if you just know the references. Well, okay, we'll put Pano at a friendship 2 point count, and then Johnny Blue gets to be +1. There you go. One friendship point. Mike, you're welcome.
What about a hybrid hero, like warrior guardian kind of deal? I would caution that this kind of idea. I mean, so one of my favorite things is like splash in games, right? Like you have your deck, and then you can splash in 10 cards from any other class, which I think is really cool. But I think as far as the developers are concerned, that complicates testing a bit because then you have a lot more potential combos, etc., to worry about being broken. Um, so specific combos like Warrior Guardian, could work. Like a lot of
Are you kidding me? Then you could like out for blood a Nothos or something. You know what I mean? You just like
definitely you
get
could swing
attack
it again.
reactions. Yeah. Yeah, you could twinning blade it and the god combo, give it go again with Glint the Quicksilver. I guess you can't pay for it again, but you know,
Yeah, no,
that
definitely.
would be
There's
hard then.
there's some cards that are kind of restrictive to their particular strategy, but then there's other cards or heroes that are extremely open ended. So being able to combine more card pools, uh, you're just
Overpower.
playing with fire there. Like the generic pool is one thing; they make them kind of underpowered and small pools of cards, right? But if you can mix and match, um, might get a little wild. Pretty fun though. Love it. 100% thematically.
Yeah.
Probably a
If you
nightmare for LSS.
if you could pull off getting a Nothos to 6 and attacking with it twice with Dorinthia, that would be pretty nuts. I
Put
guess
a
that's the
counter
same
on it.
thing though. Yeah, well no, Dawnblade's ability gets a counter. Dorinthia just lets you to attack twice. Which I guess you could do that with
Oh,
like
right.
Titan's Fist. I don't know. Okay, never mind. It's too crazy. But you
Well,
could play Overpower on a Nothos and it could go to 12, which is pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the new hero could have some super restrictive hero power, right? Like Levia or something, where if you're not running her cards, you just have no bonus and suck, right? So, but
Suck
yeah,
more.
yeah.
Just kidding. Levi's great.
Well, We're out of questions there.
Oh, perfect. All caught up. Well, then,
Yep.
you know what? That means that it's time for Pick, Pass, Pray.
Nice. I'm ready. Let us know
Signature
in the chat.
signature segments. Yeah. We'll be a little bit behind you, but we'll get there. Okay. So it's a draft scenario. Isaac, I'm going to give you 3 cards. You're going to pick one, pass one, and pray one comes back around. Are you ready?
I am.
Also, sidebar, what are we going to do when Everfest drops? Then we were drafting Everfest cards that we can't actually draft in real life?
Good point.
Yeah.
Cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay.
Good luck, future Isaac.
Yeah. First card up is Rejuvenate. It's an elemental action. This one is red, so it pitches for 1, costs 1, defends for 2. And it says, gain 3 life. If you have fused this turn, you may play Rejuvenate as though it were an instant. A wise warrior takes time to rejuvenate. It's got to be some of the worst flavor text. Okay, second card. Strength of Sequoia Blue. Pitches for 3, costs 2, is an elemental guardian action aura, and it defends for 3. It has Earth Fusion, go again. When Strength of Sequoia enters the arena, if it was fused, create a Seismic Surge token. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy Strength of Sequoia. Then the next attack action card you play this turn gains +1 attack. Okay? Third card. Frazzle. Blue. Pitches for 3, costs 1. Is an elemental ranger action arrow attack. Attacks for 3, defends for 3. I know. The
It's a
text
mouthful.
is so tiny. Attacks for 3, defends for 3. Uh, it has lightning fusion, and if Frazzle was fused, whenever an attack would deal damage this turn, instead it deals that much damage +1. Okay, Isaac, which one are you gonna pick, pass, and pray comes back around?
uh, so another sidebar. These are not the 3 best cards in the pack we opened. Taylor's doing a Christmas crisscross. Um, so with no other information, pretending this is pick one, I'm going to pick Strength of Sequoia Blue. I think it's pretty terrible, but it's a blue and blocks for 3. And in the off chance your seat is Oldham and you find yourself a bit light on blues, this is a solid blue blocks for 3, right? You might not have to pass up that Oakenold to get more blues into your deck or whatever, right? You can have this one ready. I'm going to pray Frazzle comes back around. Card's pretty worthless because if you're drafting Lexi, you will get wheeled blue arrows for free at the end of every round. So blue arrows are not in high demand. However, if you are going pretty hardcore lightning Lexi, the more synergy your deck has, the better. So this might have some value in that case, right? Also, blue arrows do function with Shiver. If you get a pump and play a blue arrow, then it can still, hold its weight or pull its weight. Funny thing about Rejuvenate, when we did the Tales pre-release that Friday in Vegas, I was actually trying to make Rejuvenate work. I thought that there was a reason that this card was in the set
Yeah,
and
me
would
too.
I wouldn't pick it, high up, but I'd grab a red one and then I'd put it in and be like, okay, so if I'm going to play I don't know, like a 2-cost attack, like I'll get Rejuvenate, Arsenal it, and then next turn or the turn after when I draw like a 2-cost attack, oh sick, I'm gonna play that, fuse it, play Rejuvenate, and then Arsenal and it's just like it does not really come up. That Arsenal slot and card, and it's just like sadly has no functionality. So So passing on that, despite my high hopes in the beginning. All right. That's quite a lot of rambling. Taylor, what's the correct answer?
I think that's such a funny strategy you had. Like, I'm gonna pick Strength of Sequoia, but my real strategy here is that I hope Lexi is actually open and I pivot partway through this pack and get wheeled this frazzle at the end.
It would happen.
Bold. What a what a scenario. I love it. Cards are so bad. I've made up a whole new situation that's gonna happen. Uh, I'm gonna pick Rejuvenate, and the reason is it's the card that keeps me the most open, and these other cards do nothing for any other sort of strategy. And so just picking Rejuvenate just is like I could play this if I really needed to in any deck. So totally fine.
Nice.
Um, the card I would like to wheel is Strength of Sequoia. So that's the one I'm praying that comes back around because I really like playing Guardian in Tails draft. So I want that signal that, I mean, even though if Strength of Sequoia is still in the pack, it doesn't mean diddly that Guardian is open, but that's my hope is that that Guardian is open and I can play Guardian. And then I'm just gonna pass on a blue arrow. I can't even tell you how many times, like, you open a pack and you're just like, okay, blue arrows. I don't even register which blue arrows they are. You know what I mean? Like,
Nope.
and maybe I should. Like,
Nope.
oh,
Because
okay, if lightning's open, these blue ones will work somehow or something,
no, because not even Lightning Lexi is picking Blue Frazzle. It just gets wheeled back around.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
no information.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Cool.
Um, all right.
That's what I got.
Well,
Um,
good. Good. Con. You know, competing views.
oh yeah. Parody.
Hmm.
Yeah. If anybody in chat has any more board games from the closet, Isaac, never mind. This is your segment. You have your little ditty you like to say.
Oh, sure. Did you want to pass on this board game? Is that why you're?
Oh no, I'm just saying if there was more. Just
Oh,
explain the segment if nobody knows.
here at the Attack Action Podcast, we love to play many board games, not just Flesh and Blood. We both have giant closets full of many, many board games that we love. So sometimes we like to share one of those with you. Now, this might not be the best game in the world or necessarily our favorite board game, but is one we love and we hope you will enjoy. And this time for our live podcast, we asked you, our listeners, to suggest a board game. So Mike Popovich has recommended Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Um, I love legacy board games, so I'm glad you are also a fan of those. Taylor, do you have more pandemic experience than me? Would you like to
I do.
pitch this game?
Having lived through the world's kind of first pandemic. Um, yeah. If anybody else has
Yeah,
has
none
more,
of history happened before this. There's never
yeah,
been a pandemic.
I'm important. Uh, if anybody else has any board games that they really like to play, throw them in the chat right now. Blast them up. Make Colin's job really hard as he copies and pastes them over to us. Um, that would be great.
Colin's been
Uh,
killing it.
totally. He's really been crushing it. Also, I think Mike Popovich has turned into a part of the drinking game that we've started tonight. So retroactively, you have to drink for all of the MPs we've dropped. I have not played season 2, and I'm only still partway through season 1. I just have a hard time playing board games recently for whatever reason, but would like to play more of them. But I hear Pandemic season 2 is like everybody's coming out of their holes of an apocalypse or something. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, but I do like the legacy game idea and would like more board games to have that. Pretty soon, our copy of Frosthaven, the sequel to Gloomhaven, should be around, and I can't wait for that. It's gonna be so fun. That's what I got.
Yeah, legacy games. Just games get so much better when they become a legacy game. We're huge fans. You just really go on an adventure with your friends over months, and it's pretty great. Next game up, Elder Sign. Roll dice to investigate the horrors of Arkham alone or as a group. I'm not familiar with this game, but the art is very a la Arkham Horror, probably because they're both Lovecraftian in flavor. Taylor, have you played this game?
Yeah, it's not bad. There's like a slew of the like non Arkham Horror card games, like Elder Sign and just Arkham Horror the board game, that are like all right for me. They're like, oh, maybe there was an earthquake just now. Actually, well, that was wild. Or a very large truck just drove by. Well, if all of a sudden my ceiling starts crashing down on me, you know why, or whatever, you know?
Huh. Speaking of, we just had a
Sorry.
very huge earthquake. Well, not huge, but you know, a pretty intense earthquake here. And dude, my house is solid. Not a single thing tipped over.
Oh, nice. Mine is
The
on.
liquor store, everything was just like bottles broken everywhere. Like it was really gnarly all over. And I was like, huh, nice. Good job, Isaac. So anyway, a
Yeah.
little side note.
Yeah, totally. My ancient house is basically floating off the ground, and it was apparently pretty crazy in here. I was not home when that happened. But it could have just been a large truck drove by. Sometimes that happens. Anyway, anything that's not the Arkham Horror card game, I'm just like not as into because I think that game is really good, and all of those other games now just don't do as good a job as that game does. That's my thing. Sorry, Thor Mike. I would play it
Uh,
with you though.
if it doesn't have a grab bag with a tentacle token, that might be a pro though of that game.
No, they all have tentacles.
Ugh.
Everything's a tentacle. All right, what else we got? What else did we see?
Let's see. We got Mixtape Massacre, Seven Wonders Duel, and Ohanami.
Nice. I have not. I've played a lot of Seven Wonders, and it is not very wonderful anymore. Maybe the Duel is okay. I've never played Mixtape Massacre. Sounds scary. And Onanami sounds cool. Build the most zen Japanese garden. Oh, that sounds great. I love being zen. So awesome. Well, if there are
Nice.
no more of those, thank you for your submissions. Thank you for listening and being here with us for this whatever long amount of time we've been here, hour and a half. We really appreciate it. It was very cool to do a live podcast and answer live questions and not have to come up with content for once in our lives. So we thank you.
Yeah. Happy holidays. I came up with a number of prompts, but we'll just save those for later. That's great. I like
Totally.
having
Yeah.
stuff in the bank. So
You were very worried.
thanks for chatting with us.
Okay, nice. Big shout out to Colin again, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain right now, crushing it. And yeah, check us out on social media. If this is your first podcast, go follow us on Twitter at BattleBro Isaac, at BattleBro Taylor. We're on Instagram, Facebook, at the Attack Action Podcast. We have a Patreon. Go check that out. We're we're not doing like there are some rewards, like you get some cool stickers, you might get a playmat, but really it's just if this podcast is entertaining and has value and you have the financial means to support us just a little bit for all of the free podcasts we do, we would really appreciate that. And then you get access to our Discord and you get to hang out with Hell Puppy and Mike Popovich and us. And we have some like Discord specific social events and that sort of thing. And it's quite a lot of fun. So, yeah, if you want to be a
I
part of
think
that
we should
community, go ahead.
I think
Or
we should
don't
call
go ahead.
Colin the Kano of Wraith, like the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, nice.
We
Kano
can do
of
that
Wraith.
now.
Yeah, totally. I like that. We could just call him the Wizard of Wraith.
Mm.
That's more illiterate. Anyway, go follow us on social medias and stuff. Like and subscribe. Leave us a review. That would be cool. Apparently, that's like an important thing. So I think Spotify now does reviews for podcasts. And that would be cool if you did that, or if you're an Apple user, Google user, whatever. Okay, that's all of my plugs. You got anything else, Isaac, before we wave goodbye to everybody?
Have a wonderful holiday.
That's so true. Have a great holiday. We'll see you in the next year. Everfest. Woo! Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.